Hello, good morning, how are you? I'm good. Lovely. Last Thursday, which was of course I can't remember the date, 20 something of May, I went to see Miss Saigon, which is currently playing at the Prince Edward Theatre in London's finest West End. Something that was really nice about going to see this was it's been a while since I've been able to properly immerse myself into a production, into a musical specifically. I think because over the last year or two, probably longer actually, over the last sort of 3 years I reckon, pretty much every musical I've gone to see, particularly in the West End, before I've gone into it, I've either seen it before, or, you know, I know all the music, or I know all the lyrics, I know the story, and I know everything about it, and it's just a case of seeing a performed version of it, which often gives me very high expectations, and it means that I compare things. So Les Miserables I've seen now 6 times, 4 times in the last year, which means that every time I go, you know, if there's a different cast completely, or if there's a couple of different cast members, often I will be comparing different people. You know, I don't go in to see Les Mis to be blown away by what I see, because I've seen it 6 times and I know it all off by heart pretty much. I go in to sort of, I still find it enjoyable and I still enjoy listening to it, but it's a different experience. You go in for a different reason, and I think it's the same whenever you go and see a musical so many times. But with Miss Saigon, it was really nice because I didn't know anything about the story. I knew that it was set somewhat in Saigon, and that was pretty much it. Yeah, I mean that was literally all I knew, and it was really nice. I didn't know any of the music. I didn't know any of the plot, nothing, and it meant that I got to go into a theatre, watch a musical, and just completely immerse myself into the emotion of the piece and into the acting of the piece, and I just got to watch it and be blown away. And I wasn't expecting anything. You know, I wasn't expecting, oh, this is the bit where they do that or they do that, which is what I do in Les Mis when I go and see it. I was sort of like, oh, what's going to happen next? And it was a really, really nice experience. I'll start off with, this is a somewhat review, but I am just going to start off by saying it was probably one of the most incredible theatrical experiences I think I've ever had. It was just it was mind-blowing is not the right word. That sounds like it was an experiment. It was just, I was completely blown away, I think that's a better way of saying it, by the emotional impact of the piece. And the music of Claude Michel Schönberg, his music is just absolutely incredible, and you do get it in Les Mis as well, which is obviously another piece, another collaborative with him and Aline Pubiu. That was so incorrectly pronounced, I'm actually ashamed of that. But there's such an emotional impact from the music that, you know, it really sets the mood, and I think it was one of the most incredible things. I don't really know what I'm saying now, I'm just completely going off tangents. I don't plan ever, I just sort of talk as I feel. So the plot, to summarise, without giving away any spoilers, basically it's set in, I'm so going to get so many facts wrong, it's set in Saigon, I think. No, it's not. Yes, it is. It's set in Saigon in 1975, and I think it's set around the Vietnam War. If that was wrong, I'd be thoroughly ashamed with myself. So that could very possibly be wrong. I think it was set in the Vietnam War. So let's just put social historical context aside. It was about a girl called Kim. She worked in a very sleazy sort of sleazy bar, which was run by this bloke who was called the Engineer, and it was really not a nice place. And when it's the first scene is set in this bar, and it's so sleazy. You just had, you know, prostitutes dancing on poles, and the lighting and the set, and I think it was like cages almost and stuff, and it really created this very sleazy atmosphere, which was a perfect introduction of this Engineer. Kim is the girl who's working there. She's a little bit different from all the other girls. You can sort of get that from the beginning. She's a little bit more modest. She's a little bit of a Fontaine, I think it could be fair to say. She falls in love with this guy who is a soldier. Long story short, they fall in love, he gets her pregnant, he has to move away. She has his child, and that's pretty much the first act. And then the second act is, in fact I could be wrong, I think that's pretty much the first act. I'm not really sure, but that happens. And then she goes off to find him, and it's turned out that he's moved on. His name's Chris, by the way. He's moved on with his life, and yeah, I won't really say anything more, mainly because I can't really say it. I'm probably going to confuse all my facts. But it's a very, very nice plot. It's based on an opera can't remember who wrote it. I think it might have been Puccini, maybe. That was Madame Butterfly. So getting down to the review bit of the show, music and lyrics were incredible. Choreography, really briefly, there wasn't much. I was looking through the programme and I noticed there is no, I hope I don't get this wrong, but I didn't come across a choreographer, but there was a guy who did musical staging, which I'm not really sure what the difference is. I imagine that there's less dance involved. It was the same with Les Mis. It's musical staging, not choreography. I don't really know what the difference is. But then there is someone who's credited with additional choreography, so I'm not really sure. But it was all very nice. It really worked in places like the sleazy strip joint and stuff. I think that's probably where the choreography was mostly used. So that was very, very nice. Let's go on to our performers. The bloke who played the engineer, I'm gonna get all these names pronounced wrong. I think it's John Brion. I've so pronounced that wrong. I'm not really sure. He's from the Philippines and currently living in LA. Well, he's not currently living in LA. He's currently living in London, I'm assuming, unless he flies in every day. Really, really incredible performer. Had an excellent stage presence. It's interesting because not knowing the show that well and obviously not knowing any of the music before, I wasn't sure if there were going to be any big numbers. And he does have big numbers. He's got quite a standard range. There's nothing that and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there was anything that exciting in the range of his songs because they weren't really you obviously have to be able to sing very well to play the part, but it was not you don't have to have the most incredible voice. You don't have to be able to hit all those high notes or all those low notes. But he sang some very nice songs, and he was a very good performer. And I think he got the comedy just right. Like I say, I don't know anything about the show. I don't know if it's supposed to be a comical part. I don't know if that was his idea or the director's idea or whoever. But there was a nice sense of comedy that he brought to it, which I thought went really, really well. The girl that played Kim, I'm not 100% sure if I saw the girl who was playing her or if I saw her alternate. I think I might have saw her alternate, so I'm just going to credit both. It was, and I'm going to get his names wrong again, Evil Nobilizada, maybe, who is playing Kim. I think I saw her alternate, who is called Tanya Manalang. I think. I'm not 100% sure. It's just because I saw a matinee and I don't really know. They didn't announce anything. They don't always announce the alternate. Anyway, whoever I saw, she was bloody brilliant. I don't really have anything else to say on her. I mean, she was so emotional. It's that subtlety, and it's something that I think is really difficult to get on stage because often what you see is people who do TV and film, actors who do TV and film, are very good at the subtlety, and that's what their strength is. And people who do stage are very good at the big stuff. Whereas this girl was, able to reach out to an audience of maybe 1,500, 2,000 people. Yet she wasn't using massive movements or massive facial expressions. It was all very subtle and it really drew you in, and she had an incredible voice, whoever she was. And to be honest, I think that goes for the entire cast. I don't have a single weakness. The girl playing Ellen, her name was Tamsin Carroll. It was really interesting because I couldn't work out if I didn't like the character or if I didn't like her. I think I did she's very, very talented, don't get me wrong. Whether I liked her or not, she was incredibly talented. She reminded me of, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong as well, I think it's Hadder Waddingham, who played, she was in Into the Woods at Regent's Park Open Air. She played the witch, and she played the witch as well in The Wizard of Oz, and she was recently appeared in Benidorm as a character who I can't remember the name of. She reminded me a little bit of her, I don't know why. She had a similar sort of voice. I thought she was very good. I don't know if I didn't like the character or I didn't like her. I think I didn't like the character, and I don't think you're supposed to like the character because she's a bit of you don't really want it to. She sort of ruins what you want as an audience member. So I think that was the issue. And Alistair Brammer, who played Chris, again, really, really wonderful performance, and I have nothing bad to say about any of the performances. I think overall, I could go into more detail on stuff. I don't really have anything else to say. I was so blown away by the performance. I think I can easily give it 5 stars. I think it's going to be running in the West End for a very, very long time. So do get tickets, but I don't think there's a need to rush because, like I said, I think it's going to run for a very, very long time. I know that they've already made back the money that they spent on the show already with box office sales, so it's going very well. Seating wise, just a quick note, I got quite cheap tickets. Mine were about I think it was $27.50, I think. And I sat right at the back of the Grand Circle, so that's the 3rd tier up. It was If you're looking to get a cheap ticket to see the show, it was quite good. I sat in, I think it was row L, I think, in seat 30. It was definitely 33. I think it was row L. And it was quite good. You could see the whole stage. I think if I saw it again, I would choose to sit further down, just because personally I feel if you're sitting further down, particularly if you're in the stalls, it's a lot more atmospheric. But you could see the whole stage. There was one little bit of a scene that you couldn't properly see, the scene with Ellen and Chris when they're in their bedroom. If you miss a little bit of that scene, and when the helicopter comes in, which is freaking amazing and awesome, that you sort of miss the top of it, but you can still see everything that's going on. So if you're looking for sort of a cheap ticket to see the show, that's what I would suggest. Be careful in the rows. I think it might just be the first row, maybe the second row in the grand circle, because it's very, very straight, and then suddenly it's right. It's like the seats go from being straight to completely round the side. So you're watching it not straight on, you're watching it from the side. And I didn't actually stand there and look at that position, but I saw quite a few people speaking to the ushers who were sitting there saying that they were complaining because they paid a lot more money. It sounded like they paid like double what I paid, and they couldn't see half the stage. So just be careful. But if you're looking for cheap tickets, anywhere sort of in the centre section, or even in the far sections of the grand circle would be great. Just careful you're not around the side. My suggestion would be maybe to ring them up and just check with your booking. But definitely worth seeing. I definitely give it 5 stars. I've not actually read any reviews on it yet, so that should be interesting to have a look. I imagine they'll all say the same thing. It's just, you know, go down and see it. So yeah, that's all I've really got to say on that. And I think something that I really learned from this trip is that I should be immersing myself into more theatre, because the experience is just so different. You know, I can't come away from that saying, oh, I remember every single song, and I know the plot off by heart, and I know all the characters, and I know all the little, and I can analyse every single actor who's in there and all the little parts they played, because I just can't, because it was different. But it was such a nice experience, and I think if you are a big fan of musical theatre like I am, it is nice to go and do that occasionally. So I highly suggest it, and I highly suggest Miss Saigon, and hopefully I will have a chance to write something down as well, which you can read on my blog, and that would be great. And as always, have a fantastic day. Au revoir. Or as they say in, where's the set? Vietnam. What do they speak in Vietnam? I've got no idea. Goodbye. And if you really liked that video and would like to see some more of my videos, that would be really fantastic. So I'm going to post them around my face, hopefully, and you can click on them now and you can check them out. And if you really like them, you can give them a thumbs up or a comment, or you can subscribe to my channel if you really, really like them, and that would be absolutely great, and I'd love you forever. Cool. So I'll just give you a couple of seconds to make your choice. 3, 2, 1, blackout.